Welcome to Baroque Notes, Music of the Baroque series of virtual pre-concert talks. I'm Jen Moore, Music of the Baroque's program annotator. With the second concert in our Emerald Anniversary season, we immerse ourselves in one of the great monuments of Baroque music, Johann Sebastian Bach's Brandenburg Concertos. These 6 works have become some of Bach's best-loved music, but they began life in a rather practical way. In 1721, Bach sent the set to Christian Ludwig, the Margrave of Brandenburg. He included a very flowery dedication in which he reminded the Margrave that he had once heard him play. Here's a translation of the inscription, which says, in effect, "You seem to enjoy my music, so here are some pieces I've written. Please don't judge them too harshly, but perhaps you might find some use for me in your service." In short, this glorious music was Bach's job application. Why did he need a new job? Bach had been working in Curtin, where Prince Leopold has assembled in a superb orchestra. Bach loved the job, but Cow Curtin, as some jokingly called it, was a bit isolated. The court's finances were unstable, and for a man with a growing family, his children were filling the town's already overcrowded schools. Long-term prospects just didn't look great. So Bach did what many of us might do. He polished up his resume, except his happened to be these 6 dazzling concertos. Now, whether the Margrave ever performed them is doubtful. His musicians may not have had the skill to tackle them, certainly not the fearsome trumpet part of the 2nd concerto or the virtuosic violin writing of the 4th. And in the end, Bach didn't get the job, but he gave the world a set of works that have never lost their appeal. Today, we might think of the Brandenburgs as a coherent collection, but in reality, they're a patchwork of pieces Bach wrote at different times for different purposes. They don't at all look alike stylistically, and that's part of what makes them so magical. Some seem quite modern for 1721. Others seem to reach back to older traditions. Take the 3rd concerto, scored for 3 choirs of strings, violins, violas, and cellos plus continuo. That ripieno concerto style, where the full ensemble drives the music without distinct soloist, had its heyday earlier in the century. By 1721, however, the solo concerto associated with Vivaldi, written for a single performer and ensemble, was a fashionable model. Bach would have known that, of course. He loved Vivaldi, and he copied several of his concertos as an educational exercise. Why did he use the more old-fashioned form? Another curiosity is his use of the viola da gamba, an instrument that was fast becoming obsolete in the 6th concerto. He actually uses 2 gambas in the 6th concerto. Once we know that Bach's patron, Prince Leopold, just happened to play the viola da gamba, the choice is far less mysterious. Musicologist Stephen Zahn suggests that instead of measuring Bach against a timeline of progress, we should compare him to what his colleagues were doing. His friend Telemann, one of the most up-to-date composers of the day, was himself still writing ripieno concertos, for example. So what we might see as Bach's archaic gestures may have been less nostalgic than we imagine, more like creative and deliberate choices within a lively, varied musical landscape. What do we hear when we listen to these concertos? In addition to a lot of instrumental virtuosity, they are a veritable playground of color, texture, and form. In Concerto No. 1, you'll hear hunting horns, symbols of the aristocracy, alongside oboes, which people associated with the military, and courtly strings. One scholar proposes that Bach plays with social hierarchies by trading on the identities that people might have had with these instruments, letting each group shine in turn before bringing them together in unity. Concerto No. 2 brings us a dazzling high trumpet, joined by recorder, oboe, and violin. Its outer movements practically radiate joy. And then the slow movement, without trumpet, pares things down to an intimate conversation between the softer solo instruments. Concerto No. 3 gives every string player a virtuosic role, weaving 9 independent parts into a glittering kaleidoscope of sound. The slow movement is famously only 2 chords, which would have been an invitation for improvisation. For our upcoming performances, Nicholas Kramer is inserting a beautiful slow movement from a violin sonata by Bach, one that resolves with the same cadence that's in the Brandenburg score. Here's the opening of the third Brandenburg. I'm using a visual score because I think it's a great illustration of the work's complexity. Concerto No. 4 turns the spotlight on the solo violin, flanked by 2 recorders. That violin part is ferociously difficult and far harder than Bach's own violin concertos, and this might be one of the reasons the Margrave's band couldn't handle the music. And finally, Concerto No. 6, that so-called archaic work for violas and gambas. It's dark-hued, mellow, and noble in character. The gambas provide a sonorous backdrop, while the violas exchange lyrical ideas. It's the most inward-looking of the set, and a fitting reminder that Bach wrote not only for showmanship, but also for deep, expressive dialogue. Here's the opening of the work in a live performance by the Netherlands Bach Society. Taken together, the 6 Brandenburgs aren't just a resume. They're a showcase of everything instrumental music could do in Bach's world. Old and new styles, brilliant solo writing and dense instrumental textures, joyful dances, and intimate reflections. They remind us that Bach wasn't only a master craftsman, but also a sharp observer of his time, able to weave social meaning, tradition, and innovation into music that still speaks to us today. And here's the most extraordinary thought. In 1977, NASA chose the first movement of Brandenburg Concerto No. 2 to travel into space aboard the Voyager spacecraft on the golden record meant to introduce humanity to any intelligent life beyond Earth.
Voyager's passage by Jupiter accelerated it towards a close encounter with the planet Saturn. Saturn's gravity will propel it on to Uranus, and in this game of cosmic billiards after Uranus, it will plunge on past Neptune, leaving the solar system and becoming an interstellar spacecraft, destined to wander forever the great ocean between the stars. And if Voyager should, sometime in its distant future, encounter beings from some other civilization in space, it bears a message, a phonograph record, golden, delicate, with instructions for use. And on this record are a sampling of pictures, sounds, greetings, and an hour and a half of exquisite music, the Earth's greatest hits. A gift across the cosmic ocean from one island civilization to another. The record bears, in English, an additional little handwritten greeting. It says, "To the makers of music, all worlds, all times."
So the same music that once served as a job application in 1721 now flies beyond our solar system as part of humanity's calling card to the universe. Bach may not have impressed the Margrave of Brandenburg, at least enough to get a job, but he just might impress the aliens. I look forward to seeing you at Bach's Brandenburgs, October 12th at the North Shore Center, October 13th at the Harris Theater in downtown Chicago, and on demand from October 17th through November 17th. Thank you so much.